to how it emboldened President Trump 2.0 and the White House. I think you mentioned the Supreme Court ruling on immunity. That also further emboldened him in ways that I don't know that we're necessarily prepared for, because it really does feel as though once that came down, he thought, I can do whatever I want and I cannot be stopped. And even if they try to stop me, nothing will happen to me. And then he realized he had the pardon power and he can pardon everyone and anyone. And what Joe Biden did before he left office, pardoning Hunter Biden, and for past and future, issues he may come up against. Right. Trump saw that. It was like, great, I will do that for my world as well. And so we've already seen him use the pardon power to an extreme degree, obviously with the January 6ers of day one. But I do think that really set the tone. And there are some things that I don't know that we'll be able to claw back with the immunity.
This one also seems one that maybe because it comes that kind of that drinking from the fire hose nature of the administration, that a lot of people, I think, regular Americans are kind of like, okay, moving on. Like no one was able, there was a period of time when you couldn't even keep track of how many executive orders were being signed.
Yes. And you just get numb to it when he's pardoning, the 300th person or whatever, and it just stinks, and you can tell it stinks, but it's not the first one that stunk. Like, you just get a little numb to it. And I think to the average voter, they're kind of like, well, what can we do? Because
That's right.
He's got all the power. Republicans have the majority. What can we do? And B, there's 1,000 other things to worry about in my backyard, in my own town, not just these sort of high-minded, high-level things like democracy that we should be worrying about,
What about the Jeffrey Epstein files, investigation, and what happened? I mean, it really became, talk about a snowball effect that started one way and ended in a different place for this year.
It feels like the biggest moment for MAGA, I think, in terms of creating an actual rift where MAGA voters and Trump loyalists were faced with the question, was I being lied to for my vote, or is the president hiding something from me? And that is a stark thing for people who have given their entire loyalty to him, who don't want to blame him for anything, who are constantly looking for somebody else to blame. And even in those first moments, they were looking at Pam Bondi. Get rid of her, Trump. Like, she's hiding something. She's doing something. They were trying to find some way not to blame Trump. And I think that has really created this first big rift that we've actually seen in the MAGA world and over the Epstein files.
But it's a story. That story's not finished, right? And so, it's a big moment of, sort of looming over all of 2025. It's not done yet, and so we don't know exactly the impact that that's going to have. As I said, it's going to be the economy, stupid. Epstein is going to matter-ish, right? But if the economy is doing great, it really won't. On midterms, I don't think, right. Or even inside MAGA, because ultimately every lawmaker just has to go back home and explain the economy to their.
So let's look at the 2025 political feuds, and then again, I'm going to break out the crystal ball. What was the most surprising political feud of the last year for you guys?
So many.
I mean,
so
we went after Greenland. I just want to point that out. We went after Greenland.
U.S. versus Greenland.
Just want to say, U.S. versus Greenland.
That feels so similar.
I know it does,
Canada.
but I have U.S. versus Canada. Just
MTG versus Donald Trump.
Elon versus Trump. The breakup of the year.
Ben Shapiro versus Tucker Carlson.
Yes.
I mean, this internecine battle inside the Republican Party over neo-Nazis and what is pedophilia. Can't believe I'm saying that, but that's where they're at right now. Those are weird fights. Lots. Dems versus Dems. Like I said, there was a lot of Dem on
the
Dem.
Whole Democratic Party.
There was a lot of Dem on Dem crime this year.
Yes.
It was Dems versus Biden, then Dems versus Kamala, then Dems versus Jeffries, then Dems versus Schumer, then establishment Dems versus Mamdani.
Then there was the Senate Fight Club. The Senate Fight Club just
exactly.
appeared.
And that can be healthy, to sort of duke that out after a bruising loss. But you got to hope that also Dems figure out, okay, now it's time to coalesce. Now we've got to figure our way forward. Republicans are in a pretty weakened spot. Donald Trump's approval is abysmal. Let's take advantage of this and stop fighting.
Then you got Stefanik versus Speaker Johnson. That's
it's like, okay, so then we have so many options for the biggest political feud of 2025. What could possibly... I mean, I would not have been able to guess half of, if you'd asked me in 24 what was going on in 2025 in terms of political feuds. What one could happen in 26?
I think I'm going to be looking for the internal ones between the White House and as they pit against each other, House Republicans versus White House, how they pit against each other. But I do think there's a lot in Trump world that's going to really deteriorate, especially amongst cabinet members, but also House versus, or not House, just Congress versus the cabinet members. Because again, people don't want to go after Trump directly. People want
No, I
to
think
Right.
That's
They'll find
exactly
somebody
right.
else.
they'll find other people.
That's exactly right. I think House Republicans are gonna start, and we've already seen it starting, to openly question what the administration's doing and what leadership is doing. They've already started, pushing back. They said no to ending the filibuster for Trump. They're pushing back. They're asking, what are we doing on healthcare? Speaker Johnson and Trump, what about the Epstein file? Like, they're starting to openly question and openly say they want to leave.
Yes.
I just think you're going to see more of that as, like I said, lawmakers go home, face constituents, look at their reelection, think, God, I'm tied to all of this garbage.
Yeah.
Help me out.
And they look ahead like, am I going to do this again? Like, there is this like end of the year.
And what's the point? Do I do this again and again?
Right.
So I think that fight especially is going to be important this next year.
Buckle up.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's what we have concluded. It's great to see you guys.
You too.
I think that was uplifting. I think we ended on an uplifting note, or not at all. As he got Mark Gillespie.